Yeah, the footsteps are definitely elephant style, guys. If I can hear them, and I've got crap ears, they're loud. Hey guys, Drifter here. Today I've got a video for you about the footsteps being too loud in Modern Warfare 2. I actually agree with the community on something, which seems bizarre, and rescind my mild criticisms of Nero Cinema because he and the community were right. The footsteps are ultimately too loud, so we're going to talk a lot about that today. And the first thing I want to mention is that even I can hear them. And for those of you that have been following me for a long time, you know all this, but for anybody new to the video, I have really sensitive ears. They got a little damaged when I was a kid, and some not so great things happened in my life, so I find loud noises not only scary, but also physically painful. So when I play video games, my headsets, these are my Astro A10s here, I keep these guys on somewhere between 15 and maybe 25% of their maximum volume if I'm feeling really, really competitive for that day. So in a lot of games, I don't hear footsteps at all, like basically none. I'm not over here cranking the volume up to 100, and it's like sort of my weakest overall skill. However, I was immediately able to notice them in the beta. By the way, shout out to Astro Gaming. They sponsor me. Links down there below in the description if you want some really nice headsets. They just released the A30s. But the point being that this is my weakest skill set. I'm actually terrible at this despite having played CoD for a long time, and it was super easy and obvious to hear those footsteps and track people in long distances around walls and corners and stuff like that. So that's a problem when I have the ability to do that, because I shouldn't be able to. I will say that the audio balance for Modern Warfare 2 is better than the audio balance for Modern Warfare 2019, at least at beta and launch. The Modern Warfare 2019 beta had, and even the full game, decided to go with realistic audio balancing. If you remember, the gunshots were insanely loud and the footsteps were realistically quieter, but you could still hear both if you turn the headsets like way up to where the gunshots were deafening and they'd make your, or at least me, they'd make my ears ring all day. This audio balance is way better. They took cues from Treyarch and community complaints. The footsteps and the gun audio are closer together. The gunshots don't explode my ears. The footsteps are still audible. And I think this is an excellent, excellent audio balance in Modern Warfare 2 for Battle Royale. If I were playing Warzone 2 or the DMZ mode, I feel like this would make sense. This would let me know that somebody's in my building, somebody's getting close to me, somebody's creeping up behind me in the woods from 20 feet away. I think in that kind of game, the loudness and easy directionality of the footsteps is also excellent in this one. I can tell literally where they're at directionally, so that's good. But that's great for Battle Royale, but not for these small maps. And the maps that we're playing in the beta aren't traditionally super small for CoD. Some of them are a little bit on the bigger side, but a lot of your engagements, even on the bigger maps, do take place in a building or a section or sort of like smaller little arena. And the problem is that it's like a rat's nest. There's all these little nooks and crannies to hide in and ways to flank and in and out, and now there's parkour and climbing and stuff. So when people are coming in to push an area, instead of sweeping it, what they're mostly doing is trying to creep in. This is what I found myself doing a lot. I would crouch and just sort of walk in, because if you try to sprint in or even walk in at a normal pace, anybody who's camping or holding that area is going to be able to hear you from a really long distance away, like an extra radar. So what this ultimately does for the smaller multiplayer maps is it makes rushing very, very hard if you're playing against competent enemies. And the issue for that isn't that enemies can hear you coming, it's that they can hear you coming from a long way away, and they have a lot of time to plan and figure out where you are. It's not like in previous CoD games, if you're sprinting all out and you kind of come up behind somebody within a certain range, well, you'll hear them and that guy might have enough time to turn around and hose you, right? But in this game, they can hear you coming from a long way away and have time to set up and prepare and just more or less destroy you. And the end result is slowing down the pace of the game. The community, the content creators, a lot of rushers. I do believe that Infinity Ward wanted to slow down the pace of the game, because if they wanted slow-paced gameplay, congratulations, this does exactly that in a somewhat annoying way. If you want, because I immediately noticed that people weren't rushing or pushing, they were holding tactical objectives and going for picks and headshots like it was a competitive lobby, because anytime you move fast, they know where you're at. They did add Dead Silence as an activatable field upgrade, kind of like Modern Warfare 2019, and that lets you rush occasionally. That lets you pick a couple of times, like per map, to rush in and go fight people, which doesn't quite seem to be enough if you're playing a frantic objective type mode like Domination or even sometimes Team Deathmatch. And I swear, it's probably not true. It's really, I probably got picked up on a UAV ping or something, but I swear people could still hear me with Dead Silence. I don't think it was entirely silent. That might just be my paranoid feelings about things. Don't take that as the gospel true. So what is the solution to this problem? I think the solution to the problem is actually in the past. Maybe I'm a boomer, a dinosaur. I'm saying the things the community's been saying forever. But I think the first step is to lower the overall footstep volume by maybe 25 to 50%. Or the volume for hearing footsteps is actually quite great for casual players. Since it's a video game and not real physics, you could lower the distance away that you hear the footsteps, so that the enemies are closer to you when you start hearing them plot around. And conversely, if you're pushing, the enemies don't hear you until you're closer to them instead of really far away. So that's an option. And then I do kind of like the dead silence sit rep dynamic. It's kind of like stopping power and juggernaut. You make dead silence not a field upgrade, but a perk, or perhaps a very long lasting perk if you have to activate it, but something that can be on very frequently. And dead silence makes your footsteps almost entirely silent, which is great. Sitrep does the exact opposite. Sitrep makes all enemy footsteps louder while making your friendly footsteps quieter. And the way this will work great is that if somebody has dead silence, a Sitrep player can hear them. They would even be able to hear that their dead silence footsteps are maybe half the volume of the regular ones, which have been made artificially louder. And they will have an idea that they are being rushed by an aggressive player, and that's fantastic. But the sitrep player has no ability to rush themselves because they're going to be going around with elephant feet. I do feel that this setup actually benefits sitrep a little bit more than the dead silence people, because the complaint that I had that people holding objectives can hear you for a long way away would still be able to do that with sitrep. It's just it would be a lot harder for them to reposition. I feel like they would have a little trade-off there, and I think that might be a better solution. I don't think that's the solution that they want. They probably want a more standard baseline of footstep audio and not have a lot of perks that change that, but we need a little change here, or multiplayer is going to turn into holding down an objective and picking people on headshots, which is fantastic for CDL and like search and destroy. It's way less fun in the new invasion ground war modes and not battle royale, domination and things like that. So that's just my opinion on the footsteps. I hope that you enjoyed this short video. If you did, don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe, or check out Astro down there in the description for 5% off. Drifter out.